Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm gonna make the intro because we had a shorter discussion before I started the recording. So, hey folks, I'm Lukasz, working full-time on AsyncAPI, and we started this new initiative like to have still public meetings, but they're only dedicated to contributors, to first-time contributors mostly, but not only. So we can like onboard to the project. Because we don't have yet any contributor guide. That's on my plate to do, but I don't have much motivation to do it because I don't have much ideas how to do a good contribution guide. So I think it's better if we run this meeting for as long as it's needed, and basing on the experience and the questions we get during the contributor first meeting, we can then start building the contributor guide. Like, I don't mean like contributor guide that tells you like run tests and write tests, whatever. I'm talking about like real contribution guide that explains you well what AsyncAPI is, what structure of the organization we have, what packages we have, what depends on what, etc., etc. So that's much more complicated than just saying run tests and write tests. So that's the background, and just for the record, it's going to be in the like the information about the meeting. It's going to be in the AsyncAPI calendar, the official one, where you can have the where you can also see the schedule of the other public meeting we have every second Tuesday. And I think it's all if it comes to intro. And today we have Anand that actually triggered this initiative. So hey, man.
Hey, nice to be here. My main, so I'm Anand, and I currently work for Discovery Communications based out of New York. And my main motivation to join here was before joining Discovery, I was part of HBO Warner Media. And there we had, we used a lot of microservices with event-driven architecture. And we have been through different transitions using custom solutions to RabbitMQ to SQS. And all through this, it was very difficult to manage how microservices, communicated via event-driven API. So, and AsyncAPI is a perfect solution for that. And hence I'm here. And I was interested in contributing to the Go template project.
Okay, cool. Welcome again.
Thank you.
Ace, Jonas, do you want to jump in, or you're just rather in the background listening and being there if you're needed? Or
yeah, I'm just in the background.
You're the background.
I'm ever needed. So yeah, just ignore me.
Yeah, and Ace is shy as usual, so no worries, Ace. Then going back, because before we started the recording, yeah, we talked about this previous experience of Anand and the history of like you have 20, 30 microservices. They all publish subscribe to the broker, but you don't actually know which one publishes to what topic, etc. So before jumping into like Go template, I wanted to share something like perfect showcase of your needs from the past.
Okay.
So we have this, let me start sharing. We have this initiative, like there's this initiative, Google Summer of Code.
Okay.
And so, yeah, Google sponsors students to work on open source, like in super short.
Okay.
And there's one of the ideas that one of the students is developing, Arjun, which is the app relations discovery, or how I like to call it. It's I don't actually remember what's the name. Hubble, I think, that the name that I like. So basically, yeah. It's the idea is that, which screen is it? Yeah. So the idea is that you basically have a library that consumes a number of AsyncAPI documents and can draw a diagram for you of dependencies between those. Can you see the screen? App relations discovery?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, okay. So it's still in development, but It's super cool. Wait, we don't have examples here. I can actually show you because I'm now writing a blog post as a status update for what's happening at AsyncAPI in June. And I can show you, okay, this is here. So we basically give it as an input. There's we have an example from, our great contributor that worked in Amadeus in the past. And he had an example of a flight system where he had like 3 microservices communicating with each other. So we took this example. So he had multiple AsyncAPI documents, and by after consuming this this project with this library, we can actually draw a super simple like this. This one is with mermaid syntax, and this class diagram is done with plant UML syntax. So we can actually draw to you a architecture that you can see that in the middle you have a broker, and then you have a monitor service, subscriber service, and notifier service, and you see if, what channels they publish and consume from. So it's just to add to your previous experience with how to figure out what microservices publish where. Like if you maintain your AsyncAPI documents, then yeah, you have this out of the box.
Yeah, it draws an architecture for you. Nice.
Yeah, it's a nifty stuff. But yeah, that's a small show off from my side. And yeah, let's go into the questions. So you want to start contributing to Go template.
Yeah, so even before, so just taking a step back, my first question would be I think I asked this to Jonas, but I'm just asking this again. So what I've noticed is, let's say, you have one app that's publishing, and there's one app that is subscribing. What is the convention that is being followed? Like I was in the way I was envisioning it is you have one async API document that describes your event-driven architecture, and then the tooling generates the code depending upon what mode, whether it's a subscriber mode or the publisher mode. But from what I have been looking at in conversation, it looks like there's an async API document that is written for the app that is publishing the message, and there is an async API document for the app that is consuming the message. Is that the convention, or No,
so the convention is that you write one async API document for your application, and you always write it from the perspective of the client, of the user, of the consumer. To make things easier to understand then semantics, because there's no flag, nothing in the spec that where you could say, okay, now this document is for a client and this one is for the server or whatever. There's no mechanism like that. So the assumption is you write it because you want to describe the API for the client, not what the application does, but what actually client can do with the application.
Okay, so which means you technically will have two async API documents. So let's take a hypothetical example. There's microservice A publishing to a broker, and then, or a queue, and then there's, or a channel as you might call it, and then you have microservice B that's consuming from it. So to generate tooling for microservice A, which is publishing, you would have one async API document, and then for microservice B, you would have another async API document.
Yeah, it's one document per application. Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So looking, for example, on this what I showed before, like this flight system, like when you have subscriber, notifier, and monitor, these 3 different microservices, they all have one single async API document. But they of course can share, and they share a schema, of course, because the message schema is the same, so they can share it between documents.
Okay. So another question would be like, let's say I'm an organization adopting async API, and typically what I've seen is if you have a microservice, each microservice has its own GitHub repository. Now, since these async API are sort of related with each other, is there any guideline on how or where you should be publishing this async API. Is it like, an async API YAML per repository, or there's like a central repository where, all the repositories refer to, so that, you can connect things together?
So I don't think you're gonna find a official recommendations. I can just share my opinion basing on my experience, like when I was in the past using AsyncAPI, outside AsyncAPI and OpenAPI or any other spec. So basically for me, it's like a contract that you have to have close to your source code, because you should always update it at the same time you update the source code, like with the docs. But that's how I see it. But if it comes to if it comes to the main, let's say the main document. But if it comes to schemas, like schema of the payload that you share between applications, then there's this solution called, I think it's called schema registries.
Okay.
Yeah. So for example, Confluent for Kafka, they have a schema registry. There's also an initiative from people from serverless working group from CNCF that works on cloud events specification. They also started initiative to describe an API for schema registry, an API that anyone would just take and then, of course, implement. So all the companies implement schema registries with the same API. I think it's still in work in progress. Some beta releases were done, and there are some open source schema registries. For sure, one from Red Hat, as far as I remember. So that's what I saw what companies do. So they have like single schema registries where they can register these schemas and then refer to them from their AsyncAPI files.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. That clears up my doubt. Okay, I think those were the questions I had in general about AsyncAPI. As far as the Go template tooling goes, currently I see that, if I'm not mistaken, I think the template is generating output for Kafka. So what, let's say I'm contributing to this template tool. Is there like a roadmap, or is there like any protocols out of the box that I should start supporting? And and like from here on, I think I would leave it up to you to guide me on how to contribute there.
Yeah. So that's this Go template. It's purely community driven. So not me, not Jonas, nobody really from the core team that is like actively working on API started the template. So it's all up to you. If you want to like regularly and like continue working on it, it's up to you to decide, really, because we don't have any requirements. For example, if it comes to how many protocols the template should support, because it all depends. It all depends what you want to create. Do you really want to have a template that generates server, or just a client, or whatsoever? Like, for example, there's one of the templates that we have that I recently maintained. It's a Node.js template for WebSocket only, and it's totally fine, because the template itself, it's not meant to be used in production. It's more as a showcase of what you can do with AsyncAPI. So it's purely focused on WebSocket. It generates a client and a server at the same moment, at the same time, because of how WebSockets work. So you can have some HTML generated and the server at the same time. And it's totally fine that it's just supporting WebSocket, and it's okay. So if it comes to the Go template, like if you're interested only with one specific broker, one specific protocol, then you just focus on that. But if somebody from the community jumps in and wants to contribute another protocol, let's make it happen. Let's enable that.
Okay.
But you're not. There's no requirement that you have to follow here.
Okay.
If it comes to the roadmap, same here. Like it's really up to you. I'm fully here to support you if you need some support here, how to set it up, how to communicate it. we are like, even though it's not like maintained by me, in the AsyncAPI project at the moment, one of my roles is how I call it, community guardian. So like my goal is here to support all the contributors and communicate work as much as possible to the outside community. So if you want to, for example, reach wider audience, you work on the Go template, you need some feedback, you have some PR where you would like to involve more people, etc. You don't have to fight with the system on your own. Like you don't have to, you're not left alone. You just let me know, and every month I write a status update on the project for the community, and I can put a Go template there if you need some help. I can also use our AsyncAPI official social media accounts to like share something, ask for feedback. So just to make sure, when I'm saying like it's up to you to the roadmap, but remember, you're not left alone.
Yeah.
But because you commit your time to do it, I don't want to tell you what you have to do, right? So I'm just gonna give you sometimes maybe advices or help you out to make sure that the project setup is first of all follows the our automation that we have in the organization, because we have some automation done. And of course, sometimes we will just jump in and tell you, like on the PR, we'll tell you like, no, like that something should be templated differently because there's a different best practices, whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll not enforce any roadmap, any steps on you.
Okay. I think the main intention for asking was that, like, you know, even as people start adopting AsyncAPI, if there is tooling out of the box, they would like to adopt it. So based on the you know, previous issues or you know, asks, have you seen any requests for Go templates specifically for any protocol?
I don't recall. Most of the time people ask if there's a Go template. I'm directing to the one that we have, but saying like it needs some love, it needs maintenance, and then people don't continue to ask questions. Okay. So I'm not really sure what they, but in overall, I think people still are most interested with, like from my perspective, when I see for example, Google search statistics, or where I see like how people query to get into AsyncAPI. The top ones are AsyncAPI plus WebSocket, AsyncAPI plus Kafka, and then AsyncAPI plus MQTT and the rest.
Okay, got it.
So that's if it comes to interest in AsyncAPI, but specifically Go, really hard to say, like really hard to say.
Got it, fine. I had another question. I'm not able to, I totally lost it. Yeah, okay. So question was, again, you say we have protocol specific code. Like if you look at OpenAPI, I have used tooling with OpenAPI, and many times I see that OpenAPI generates code more like interfaces, and then the actual implementation based on the protocol is up to the person who's actually developing the code. And even Go as a language is, you know, is highly reliant on interfaces. So what is the general guideline on generating templates? Should templates be generated specific to protocols, or can we also have a generator that just generates the interfaces, and then it's up to the person who's implementing it specific to a protocol to implement it however they want?
Complicated answer. And it's complicated because just of the status of Go template. So Go template is, at the moment, it's written with generator, but generator itself, it supports 2 different rendering engines.
Okay.
So you can write your templates using a nunJAX syntax, and it's, I would say, an old approach, something we if we could, I bet Jonas would second that. If we could, we would already like shut it down and stop maintaining. And we have thumbs up from him. But it's not possible because like we have still many templates that follow Nunjucks. And the other render engine, it's something new that we created this year, is a React engine. Like main motivation was better debugging, much easier to share the templates. And the problem why it's complicated answer is because the Go template is written in Nunjucks. And in Nunjucks, the approach was you template everything, interfaces and the other logic, like the, let's say, protocol related logic.
Okay.
That's how it worked with Nunjucks. We did not have a nice and clean solution to share those those interfaces related templates so you can reuse them. We didn't have that mechanism. You had to do it like every project from scratch or just copy paste.
Okay.
In React, things are different. Of course, you can still write the interface templates from scratch, but actually Jonas, that is here on the call, a few months ago, and now he's actively maintaining, we have a library called Modelina that is purely created only for models type system generation. And in my blog post for June, I'm writing that actually Sergio, who's not on the call, he contributed to Modelina a support for Go. So you can actually, you have a dedicated library that can output interfaces like Go interfaces for you.
Oh, nice.
And that's the, let's say, best practice, the way that templates should be written now. That you have like, in your template, you're focusing on like, again, let's say protocol code, protocol related code. And then for interfaces, you use Modelina to generate them. There is one template that already does it, right, Jonas? It's TS TypeScript template for nuts, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna send you a link in the chat. And this is a template that initially Jonas wrote with Nunjucks flavor. Not sure if that's a good name. And he rewrote it to React, plus he added a Modelina to generate TypeScript interfaces.
Okay.
Because the template, it's a TypeScript template. So that's the state of the art for now. And it's up to you. I would definitely strongly recommend to first take Go template and transform from Nunjucks to React.
Okay.
But it's really up to you. And it's just my recommendation, but I can imagine it's a bit of the work. I talked once with one of the contributors from PHP template, Emiliano, and when we talked about it, like because he also wrote his PHP template with Nunjucks, and I told him like really to consider React, but then we ended up with conversation like, does it really make sense if I don't see yet an adoption of the template?
Right.
And here it's a tough decision. Like, what's more important for you? Like really wait for adoption, but then add things again with the old syntax, or maybe like first really transform into React and then improve from that point up. So okay. It's again, it's really up to you.
Okay.
If you want to have it on the roadmap, like first change the render engine. We're not enforcing it yet because we did not even mark Nunjucks as a legacy or deprecated or whatever.
Okay.
I think it's even still main, right, Jonas? Do I correct? Like if you want to use React, you have to configure it explicitly, like say it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so Nunjucks will still stay here for some time.
Okay.
So that's up to you if you want to switch to React, but there's no, like, you won't find anyone who will miss Nunjux, because it's really for a template developer, it's really pain in the, it's recorded, but I'm gonna say it, it's pain in the ass, really, because debugging is hell. Like, it's when you get an error after changes in template. Jonas shared some link.
I just shared a link with the docs that basically highlights the differences and what React actually provide for your template.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but like main is like debugging, really. Like, you get an error in the template and you have no idea from Nunjux like where the error actually happened. And because React, you write them like real React code, but just for the generator, not for the front end. You have like code syntax highlighting. You have a like debugging, normal debugging, like you would write a normal application.
Oh, nice.
So it's so that's my, let's say, answer here to your question.
Okay.
But yeah,
and you actually answered another question. Like, I just see a lot of chat about Modelina, and so that explains it.
Yeah.
So looking at things, I think maybe I should take some time to figure out how the current template works. And once I get an understanding or get a grip of how it works, then maybe then I think the obvious or the right choice would be to change it to the React rendering engine, so that there's adoption, not adoption, so that it's it's up to date with the state of art what you guys are using. Well, so that being said, can you, let's say I have to start working on this Go template. What are quick ways to test this code out? Like, it is generating an output. How do I test it? Is there something you can share on that?
Yeah, I can share even my screen, but just before I jump to these tips and tricks, I'm going to share another link. So I shared with you a link with the TypeScript template that is written, rewritten from Nunjux to React, in case you're thinking about rewriting. Okay. The other link is a basic example. It's not a basic example. It's a basic example template that I created some time ago that showcases all the features of the generator. It's like there's an extensive README that explains every feature and how it's done in this template. And the cool stuff about this template is that Maciek rewrote it to React. But my initial implementation with Nunjux, we did not remove it. We keep it on a separate branch called Nunjux. So you can if you really decide to rewrite Go template from Nunjux to React, it's also a good learning material. So you can see how it looked in Nunjux, how it looked in how it looks now in React. So it's going to be much easier, I think, to rewrite.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then if it comes to tips and tricks, let me open VS Code with the Go template, and I'm going to show it to you. Un momento. I have way too many projects.
Are there any companies actively that have adopted AsyncAPI?
Yeah, the problem with this is that mostly event-driven architectures are hidden. Okay. Because it's a Kafka communication you have internally or something like this. So not many people talk about it out loud. Okay. But on a scale that you can see on OpenAPI and REST APIs, because not many like event-driven related APIs are are public.
Right.
But there was last month there was a pretty nice, and it was super loud about it, a pretty nice article about how eBay uses it for their event notification system. And actually, I'm having a call with them tomorrow to ask them if they can share the story on our website. There's a conference in North America, as far as I remember. Confluent runs it. Kafka Summit, North America, something like this month,
Okay.
again. And there's a presentation from a person that I also tried to contact. It's a product manager from New Zealand Bank, and they will have a talk about AsyncAPI and how they adopted it, which I'm super interested with. Actually, many of us are. So there are companies adopting, but yeah, not many talk about it out loud, and it's hard to find someone. But yeah, Slack has official AsyncAPI document. They share it on GitHub. I worked previously in SAP, and like SAP had one open source project that I was working on with them, and it supported AsyncAPI. Actually, I was working on it, and that's how I ended up here.
Okay.
And but they also have it in other products internally, and they contribute as well to the project. MuleSoft, and yeah, those vendors, they adapted already. So W02, I think that's the name of the company that is doing API gateways or API management. Like MuleSoft is working on integration. Smartbird done it already.
Okay.
So the adoption is pretty big. Like yeah, Solace, the company that is doing the business on eventing, they have like great integration with AsyncAPI and also contribute. I think I found the project.
Yeah, they poached Lukasz.
Okay, now I can start sharing. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see your VS Code.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I have a template cloned locally. So there are, and actually in the template for generator templates, you're gonna find there are some development hits there that I'm gonna actually show you to you. So I used two. I used two things. Normally I use like native AsyncAPI generator client, so AG. Do I have, yeah, Async. And now if I don't want to, I mean, I want to debug the template locally, and I like, how do I like refer to it? It's just as simple as that. Because the generator, it works in the way that it's the template must be a node npm package. It has to have a package JSON. So what you're doing here, you're actually pointing to the directory where the package JSON file is.
Okay.
Because in package JSON, except of like dependencies for the project, etc., you also have a generator configuration.
Okay.
So that's, then of course, output. Let me delete the current one. And then, very important flag is force right, because we have a let's say a kind of security in the generator to make sure that you don't overwrite any changes you have, like you don't lose any work you have.
Okay.
So we detect if you run generation of the output to a Git
committed.
Yeah, and if you didn't stage your changes, we're gonna like say, no, we're not gonna run generation unless you force us to do it. Like, so that's force write for.
Okay.
And that's the simplest. Okay, NVM. I was messing up with my notes, sorry.
Okay.
And yeah, then that's it. Everything is generated. Now there are two additional flags you'd like to know. First is debug. That will like tell you everything you should know to make sure that you're really picking up the module from your sources. Okay. Because sometimes in the past we had like we had issues with installation. We were picking up sources from wrong location, etc. So yeah, it's sometimes useful to run debug, because like after fixing the issues, we started like really logging a lot of information that can tell you like first of all where your template is located, but also we tell you, and that's something that you're gonna see interesting, what I was talking about debugging. So let's say I have not output. Let's go into template. And yeah, let's break some syntax. And now with the debug, you actually get more or less information where the problem is, right? Message name, but you don't really get a file where it's located. And now without debug, you see that it's correct, right? So you exactly know in which file in the template the error happened.
Right.
And now it's strange, right? Because like with debug, actually it should be much more specific than without debug. But that's the thing. Like sometimes debug with nunjucks is useful. Sometimes it's hiding information.
Okay.
I don't remember what was the use case when it was actually helpful instead of I think, yeah, I remember now. It was helpful again in the filters. So this nunjucks notation, it tells you that like you set a variable that takes ID from the publish operation from the channel that you have access to, and then it runs a filter.
Okay.
And filters are like are really simple functions, additional
helper functions
that you can run on your data to get like to manipulate the output. So for example, this is the changing it to upper first, whatever it's needed for. But yeah, it's a filter. And now let me break the filter. And I think that was, as far as I remember, that was when debug was helpful.
Okay.
No, it's also helpful here without debug. So let's see. Okay, it's the same. Okay, so never mind. I just don't remember what was happening, but it's really important about this debug flag. Sometimes it can help you, sometimes not. So when you stay with nunjucks longer, then just keep it in mind.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and the other one was install. So in case you want to force installation of the template, like reinstallation of the template.
Okay.
And
when you say reinstallation of the template, do you mean the dependencies, the package.json within the template?
No, so if it comes to dependencies, one thing you need to remember is that, like, under the hood for template installation, we're using a official NPM library for package installation, and
okay.
the approach they follow, and therefore we follow as well, is that if you're installing a local module from your local drive, they don't care if you have dependencies installed upfront or not.
Okay.
And it will not install them for you, which means you need to remember that if you're adding some package to Node modules, not wrong. If you want to use a local template, you must make sure that the Node modules exist for the template, like the dependencies are installed. And another useful thing is, because like generator and the templates, they strongly, highly depend on the JavaScript parser that we have.
Okay.
Because JavaScript parser, it's not only validating the AsyncAPI document, it also provides you with a really detailed, extensive API that you can use to access data from the AsyncAPI document. So you don't have to like access JSON structure directly. You use those helper functions, and that's what you can see here. For example, like in this, every template file is powered by like gets from the generator and AsyncAPI document object, like that is a result of the parsing of the document. So you, for example, as you can see, you have a helper function that gives you all the channels.
Okay.
And you can access channel name and channel content. And then you have, for example, a helper function that tells you like if it has publish operation or not.
Okay.
So so because, and what I noticed when I was developing, I wonder if Jonas was doing the same. So sometimes I was like too lazy to check the code of the parser, and I simply love console log like debugging. And I, for example, like really wanted to see how the has published is behaving, or how the like other functions that are coming from the AsyncAPI document object. So yeah, how I can like really put a console log inside the parser. So my approach was that I also had a generator cloned locally. So I was instead of using AG, I was basically doing is it this path? Oh yeah, it's still broken, right? So you can see I'm not using the installed CLI, but I have the sources. I'm running it from the sources of the generator.
Okay.
It helps me a lot. But maybe it was just my use case, because I was also developing a lot in the generator. But sometimes I was like, I saw that something is missing in the template, and I was like, yeah, maybe it could be a functionality in the generator. So I was like developing template and generator at the same time. So I could like go there to local code of generator and see like what's coming from the generator, really, what's the structure. And then go even deeper into node modules of the generator to the parser, and then console log in the parser to see what's coming from the parser, what's coming from the generator. So I could really understand what's happening. So that's a life hacker that I used. I did not develop any template for a few months, But like in the past, that's what I was always doing, like mostly running from my local sources.
Oh, okay. So does the generator have like a document stating what does it, based on the AsyncAPI.yaml, does it give you, does it have documentation on what is its output like
Yeah.
what is it parsing out?
Yeah. So looking on the link that Jonas sent.
Okay.
Where is my chat? Okay, here. So Jonas pointed you directly to React section, but there's another section in this document that is called, what was the name?
There's a huge example JSON, is that it? No.
No, wait. Oh yeah, in the section like Nunjucks, because like we're now the Go template is on Nunjucks, so it tells like that by default every template file has access to three things. So one thing is the AsyncAPI document.
Okay.
That is AsyncAPI, not document, sorry, AsyncAPI object that is result of parsing the AsyncAPI document.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is the original AsyncAPI document, so unparsed document if you really need it. And the third thing is parameters, params, exactly. So because in template you can have like some custom parameters where you customize the behavior of the template.
Okay.
I don't think we have it here in this template. No, we don't have any parameters. But yeah, parameters are like, let's say our HTML template. By default, it generates a navigation based on the structure of the document. But you have a flag where you can say -p. I don't remember the name of the parameter. You provide some value, and out of the box, instead of the navigation based on the structure of the document, you get navigation based on the tags that you use in the AsyncAPI document. So you basically manipulate the output. Like you simply have like just do like if params, let's say Kafka, right? So like let's say you have a parameter called Kafka that accepts true or false, and when you pass this parameter, something additional will be generated or not, for example.
Okay.
Some additional code. Sorry.
Okay. Yep. Cool. And like one last question is, you have generated this Go code in this template. Is there a way to test it out, or?
Yeah. So let me fix my stuff. So like now test, do you mean like test manually or write like integration tests or something like this?
I mean both. Like say for example, this AsyncAPI is producing like a Kafka protocol based output. So then how would I test it against like a Kafka broker, or and then also like automated or integration tests that might run as part of a pull request?
Yeah. If it comes to manual testing, then yes, you can do it, but there's nothing out of the box that you can like reuse and be happy with. So you just have to like navigate to output, build or whatever is needed to start the project. Okay. And then you have to like start like Kafka with Docker or whatever, or use some Cloud Kafka. Like, for example, recently I was adding some feature related to security to Node.js template. And yeah, I wanted to do manual tests. And what I did, I was simply like generating output, building it, then manually starting it manually. And then I used a service, starts with A, and Lorna will kill me because I know that Lorna works there, but I don't remember Ava,
Okay.
Avia, or something like this. But it's like a Confluent. I think they have like Kafka on demand.
Okay.
And they had free tier, so I started free tier there, and that's how I was testing. I didn't even take time to start it with Docker. So that's manual stuff. Like it's really manual. You have to do all manual. If it comes to CI testing, we're not doing that yet.
Okay.
We're not doing that yet. It's mostly manual, and what we're doing, and what you can see in this template for generator templates. I did not cover this there because the templates that I could come up with when I was creating this template for generating templates, it's HTML, so there was not much really integration testing. And what I did there, and we are also doing it in other templates, is snapshot testing. So in JS, it's a common pattern, like for Jest framework, for example, that you can like you can have a snapshot test. So you basically take a snapshot of generated files, and then you compare it against the snapshot run for after you made some changes to the code and regenerated output.
Okay.
So so you can at least make sure that whatever you're so you're basically running generation in the test, generate the output, check it against the snapshot, and this way you know if the changes that you made, and they maybe introduced some changes in the output, you can see like how much they differ from the last version, if that's okay or not, if that can be accepted, or if they're breaking something actually.
Okay.
So that's the maximum of let's say of testing we got. Just to make sure, Jonas, you're still here, you're raising a hand, you probably did something with TypeScript template, right?
Yeah, so I'm only able to do this because I actually generate integration test with the template, meaning that I generate tests that uses the generated output. An example for this can be seen in 2 seconds.
Hey guys, I need to drop off for another meeting.
Yeah, no worries. I'm gonna publish this recording, and the chat with the links, it's gonna be in the recording in the description on YouTube, so you can pick up those. But yeah.
But this was very helpful. Thank you so much. At least it gives me a good starting point.
Awesome. Good.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank you for your time. And then I'll reach out to you guys if I have any more questions.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Anyway, I have another meeting as well. Thanks, folks, for joining. Thanks, Jonas, for being in the background.
No worries.
And Ace, see you on another call. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.